Okay, Ross, could you say here again?
Here.
Thank you. And Neil.
Is there anybody who wishes to come before the council on something that's not on the agenda? Hearing seeing none. It's with pleasure to be able to have the Decorah Elementary Facility Committee recommendation is to be presented by to the program. Keep in mind, this is a process. Not up, state your names. And
Tim Cronin, the superintendent of the current community school district. So in 45 minutes or a little bit less, our board's going to act on the recommendation from the elementary facility committee. The two things, they kind of go hand in hand, but the elementary facility committee finished up 7 meetings about 2 hours each, looking at different options. We do going in, the location had been predetermined. We're going to build on the highway island. Obviously, we worked with city council on that part of it. So it was more about not where we were going to go, but kind of the what and the how we're going to do the project. Recommendations from the facility committee is a tear down and build, and to utilizing the highway island, leaving current confine in place while we build a new one. So we're building a little bit farther to the west, with input, kind of working with kind of some of the wishes to have green space on the west side of that project. So if you saw the diagrams that were provided, we try to have an aerial view. And so we've got green space on the west side, kind of, I think that'll end up being where like the gravel parking lot, the 24-hour parking lot that still exists is at. The school will be more where the softball field is now. Tennis courts will kind of become parking, and then on the east side of the property where John Collins sits now, that'll go to green space and tennis courts and playground equipment. We had a keen desire. We had a board meeting where we talked about tennis courts, especially with our tennis program. We wanted to have those by the high school, so that was an interest of ours. The project, so recommendation tonight is the board's going to review a petition. The petition is that the board sells $38 million in bonds to fund this project. And so that will be an agenda item for our board to vote on tonight. Once that's passed, you probably would see petitions circulated in the community because we have to get 675 signatures to get it on the ballot in November. And because it's because it's $38 million, that's going to require the board to ask permission to exceed the $2.70 levy that currently exists. And the wording is not to exceed $4.05. Because we know that it's a $38 million project, that will actually be a 94-cent increase. So it's $2.70 plus 94 cents. So the tax rate, if this would go through, would then be $3.64. Currently, it's $2.70. So when we talk about the impact to the taxpayer, because the $2.70 geodebt is coming off the books in 2025, so we'll have all of that to work with, and then the taxpayers would see that the difference there is that 94 cents. So the numbers on that, and I don't have a piece of paper in front of me, but I think it's $104 per year for a house that's valued at $250,000. And so we happen to do some averages. Brian Petersburg worked on the average home in Decorah is $250,000. You can also look at it as it's $61 for a $150,000 house. You could double that, it would be $122 for a $300,000 house. If you want to do that, but we'll have on our website, we'll have this information posted on our website and calculator. We do have a website along with some of the background information. We'll just continue to add tabs for that. Those are the 2 agenda items that we're going to look at, and I anticipate approval at tonight's meeting, which will then put in motion the process for collecting signatures to get it on the ballot, get the geo part on the ballot in November, and the levy part to exceed the 270 that will go on the September ballot. The board has previously put extending the revenue purpose statement for the 1 cent sales tax that's already on the September ballot. So there'll actually be 3 votes or 3 opportunities to vote for this project. 2 in September, revenue purpose statement, the exceeding the 270, And then the November ballot will be the GO bond to actually sell bonds to do the project. So there will be 3 votes, 2 elections and 1 project.
And how many signatures did you say you had to get to give them? That's okay.
It's,
With 600, you said.
yeah, I think it's 675. It's 25% of the last election. And if I remember, that number was, I rounded up to 6,700. If somebody wants to do the math on that, but that's
Okay.
roughly. I have a lot of numbers in my head. I apologize for that.
That's okay.
You know,
I just want to make a statement about the committee.
Yeah, please.
Which was, there were 25 people that worked on that over a broad spectrum of the community. They're very diligent in working through financial, working through the potential of what it was going to be. And all of what you just stated as far as what's going to be, if they won't be put before the citizens of September and in November. But I appreciated their work. We had several people from the city. And I appreciated being able to attend.
Absolutely. We did have a nice, and we had people with different pockets of expertise. And you can see that in the meetings when we talk about financial, we have a couple of people in the banking industry. They had really good comments. We had people that were maybe representing the tenants, people that represented the city, obviously had some teachers on it. And, one of the things that came up was, when you go to design phase and got to pass a bond, you don't really want to have a design phase. So you'll notice our project, and if you happen to follow the Waterloo project, it's just kind of conceptual. What you're seeing now is just a big picture. You're not going to see what every classroom looks like because that doesn't get done until design, until you pass the project. But I think there were some teachers that were on the committee were like, we're going to talk about how many bathrooms there are or this or that. And we have our plan is for a pre-K through 2 building to accommodate current sections, have enough for if we have a bubble go through. It's not a huge building. It's been scaled down. I think when they first started talking about it, they were looking at having it be an 8-section building and pre-K through 3. And we kind of scoped it down, narrowed it down to just pre-K 2, and we're looking at having a 7-section building. So we have 6 right now, and so we have a little bit of room to, if we needed to. We're not building it just for now. We're building it just a little bit bigger than what we have.
Okay, I'll open up for questions.
Kim, you said there were 3 separate votes that had to be taken.
Yeah.
Do all 3 of those require a 60% majority to pass, or is there?
Fun question. Thanks for asking. Definitely the Joe bond in November needs 60% plus 1. To exceed the tax levy, the 270, to exceed that requires the 60% supermajority. The extending the revenue purpose statement only requires 50%.
Okay, thanks.
I have a couple questions. One, in the community survey that was done, what was the top priority of the community?
So when you take out the top priority of the community, I don't have that memorized, but it was like the tennis courts, and I'm looking for civil and pickleball.
Okay, enough. So I have a couple questions about the design. I'm also curious about passing a bond without a design. Right, so the building's going to cost 38 million,
Yeah.
but you don't know what it's going to look like. And I guess when I look at this schematic, I get a little there's a lot of parking here. There's apparently, it's seemingly more parking than used to be. And quite a bit, and I would want to know how much, if I was going to vote, I would want to know how much parking is actually here and how much green space is actually going to be left in that west end. Those are questions I would have as a voter, and how will you address that?
Yeah, I think, the space on it, so it's tough to see from there. There is more parking, not a dramatic more. We did shave down some of the parking. The green space was enough to be a practice football field on the east side, which would represent a pretty sizable amount of space.
What
But
about on the west side?
on the west side, that I don't have a comparison on how much space that, I can't say practice football field because we haven't talked about that. But it's my understanding it would be when I look at the drawings, I just think of it as that 24-hour lot would be all green space and then a little bit more. But I can't tell you exactly, Emily, right now what that would be.
I would be trepidatious about saying to the community, we want you to vote on something, but we can't exactly tell you what it's gonna look like.
Well, the outside or the inside, I guess I'm,
The outside and the spaces, because if these are conceptual, right, but not the actual like you can you mark out where the school is actually gonna go so people would know? Okay, so these are only conceptual in terms of what's on the inside, not the outside.
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
It could have diagrams, or we can have, dimensions of how big the space would be outside.
So when you get questions about parking, you'll be able to say the parking lot.
I'll be able to
is
say exactly how many spots.
Okay.
I think those would be numbers that we're trying to make it so that staff have enough parking. Currently, we don't have enough staff parking for all the staff. And then, of course, anytime we add parking there, we're just, at nighttime, we would add it for events. And those numbers do exist. I just don't have those numbers.
Okay. Kirsten?
No, was it.
Well, I know that this is just the start.
Yeah.
That you can take the question, Emily's question back. You know, and as you're going forth, we'll look forward to having more information. Especially probably, perhaps we'll look to having back prior to those votes in September. So that you can bring back more information, so we're all clear.
Absolutely.
Are they-
I'm just gonna look and see, Cindy, you don't have anything that we should be adding?
Just one.
Just.
Hi, thank you for having us
I
tonight.
have to speak up into the microphone.
Okay, my name is Cindy Bender, president of the Decorah Community School Board. And I just wanted to express my gratitude to the council. This has been a project that's been talked about for many years, and it's because of you and your partnership that we have been able to get to this point. As Dr. Cronin mentioned, there are preliminary plans in place. We know the exact footprint that the building is going to have and the exact space that everything is going to need in order to have an estimated price for this project. Because we're basing that, there was an extensive survey that was done for site development and site plans in addition to the building of the elementary school. And the price per square foot for the school part was based on projects that they're bidding, but the complexity of passing a bond 18 months before it's bid, you're really looking into, we're using the information that we have today. As another layer of expertise, the school board did pass that we would hire a construction manager at risk to help with that planning, to make sure that we were planning in a way that was as fiscally responsible as possible. So we look forward to coming back, hopefully sometime in August, to give you more details about the project ahead of that September election. And for more information, the community can go to decorahcsdfuture.org. Thank you.
Actually, if you have in your packet, the schematics, also the report as well as the name of the people. If you have questions, contact people that are on that facility. Anything else?
One last thought I had, and Mark Jensen has said this a couple times. It's not gonna be a perfect project for everybody in the community. We're trying to do the best project we can for the community. I think about, there's people who want more green space, people want more parking, like we're trying to make sure that we have enough to be an effective school, but understand it won't be perfect because there won't be as many pickleball courts, or there won't be a big enough gym, or there won't be this. But we're trying to do something. We can't let perfection be the enemy of really good. That's what our goal is. We'd like to be perfect, but we know that that's.
I appreciated Mark Jensen's presentation. So, anything else?
No, and I just want, because I think you're gonna hear a lot from the council about green space, and I think for the sale of the land and the intent behind it really was that green space on the west side, and that's the only reason I want to make sure that we can preserve that as we agreed to that in that extra sale, and that's why it's important, at least to me.
Yeah.
I respect Emily so much, conversations that we had. In fact, we invited Mayor Borowski, who was a part of the facility committee. Steve Zinnergruen came for many of the meetings. And in order in order to pass a bond this fall. It will take 2 years, so we're looking at, I mean, the time is now to build a school. And in order to build a school, while the existing building is being built, we only have so much space to work with to put a new school as far east as possible. Or excuse me, as far west as possible. We really worked with the architect to say we need more green space in this design. And in these final weeks, they helped to shift that footprint to maintain the maximum amount of green space, but yet to achieve the other priorities in the project. And to have a school that is fully operational where kids can go to school while the new school is being built. So
No,
that's,
and I totally appreciate that, but it did help, I want to clarify, I was under the impression after Tim spoke that this was just a schematic and couldn't tell where things actually were, but you clarified that you can. This is like, you could see the masking tape or things, I understand, so this is, so you totally clarified that.
And it really helped also. Unfortunately, Steve wasn't able to be at one, so Travis came. And that really helped a lot to be able to know the layout, especially if, and, you know, the current parking lot is and what's the infrastructure down, you know, and I have to pay it anyway. So that really helped a lot too. I appreciated Travis's input.
I really appreciate the work on bringing the bus lane out of the roadways and keeping our youngest people safe. We know that traffic was a concern, and I think this campus does a really good job of that.
What was really helpful that Travis had stated too is that we have kind of an idea as far as the layout and stuff. We're going to be looking at Hively. And that can be in the consideration somewhat without the layout of what that replacement is going to be like too, knowing what it's going to, the school is going to be.
I was just gonna make a comment about the green space. It does appear that by the diagram you have here that there will actually be more green space in this diagram than currently exists on that spot. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think that's important as far as this discussion about green space and stuff. With the council.
Oh, sure, but there's gonna be a whole school that's gonna get torn down.
Right.
Okay, any other questions? Comments? You have a great meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for coming.
You bet.
Consent agenda.
Item A, minutes of the July 1, 2024 meeting. B, claims. C, tax abatement for 106 Highland number 4, Holiday and Arnold Larson, new construction. D, tax abatement for 1008 Shagbark Court Lane, Marine Stockman, new construction. E, tax abatement for 106 Highland number 3, Jeffrey and Danita Jones, new construction. F, appointment of Eric Kephart to the library board. G, appointment of Caleb Ulrich to SMID with resignation of Julie Spilby. H, pay application number 1 for a 2024 stormwater improvement project. I, change order number 1 for Decorah 2024 bioretention cell project. J, final pay application for 2024 bioretention cell project. K, resolution to accept the Decorah 2024 bioretention cell project as complete. L, change order number 1 for Decorah 2023 Miller Park Recreational Trail Improvements Project. M, final pay application for Decorah 2023 Miller Park Recreational Trail Improvements Project. And resolution to accept the Decorah 2023 Miller Park Recreational Trail Improvements Project as complete.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion made by Olson, seconded by Ms. Lineage. Any further discussion? Hearing seeing none. Roll call.
Olson.
Aye.
Ms. Lynch.
Aye.
Zittergren.
Aye.
Chisholm.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Neal.
Motion carried. Consider resolution for letter of support to the IEDA on site plan changes on behalf of Briar Grove.
Okay, so we are actually joined by Andy Anderson, right?
I got a tricky name, yeah.
That was actually off the top of my head, I didn't have her last name written down. Andy is here representing Briar Grove Apartments or Echo Developments. That, the site plan was approved that had two buildings, two apartment buildings on the site. And Echo Developments wishes to revise their site plan. Two buildings have already been constructed, but in lieu of the second two apartment buildings, they want to propose 5 10-unit townhome style buildings, each with its own garage that's part of the building or part of the unit. Just updated today, included floor plans, there's a printed copy out for everyone at the dais, as well as in Dropbox for everyone attending virtually. Might add this on the meeting virtually. Apologize for the Zoom setup here. We had a lightning strike over the weekend. It's the all, and so it appears to have fried some of our AV setup. So that's why we got this little bit of unique setup going right now. But so the drafted resolution would be voicing support to the Iowa Economic Development Authority, who would require the city sign off on any changes to the scope to provide, continue to provide the workforce housing tax credits that have already been secured for the project. So that's what this resolution is meant to achieve. It does have the recommendation is contingent upon full site review. So I wanted to emphasize that this is essentially the city voicing its support for the change in the scope of the project. However, is not in any way, shape, or form a formal blessing on the site.
Travis, to that point, in the other units, we'd had a set aside a portion. I think it was a 10% of the occupancy for low to moderate income, which equaled out to, I believe, 1 unit per building in the other construction. How would that translate into an agreement with townhomes?
So the agreement that's in place is put in a urban revitalization area and is structured as abatement. And with that being the case, this would still meet the overall scope of the abatement agreement, so it'd still be eligible. Everything would still apply. It's just the building itself would change. So all other terms as far as incentives to Echo Development would hold steady.
I'm not concerned about their incentives. I'm concerned about one of those units being an LMI unit. Is that going forward?
I don't believe that the new buildings are proposed to be, they're all proposed to be market rate, correct?
That's something we can discuss.
Okay.
I had, I went, I would have to talk to the other partner as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm with Ross on this. I mean, I think the intent was workforce housing, and I think we need to hold to that, especially having some of those units be available to low and moderate incomes.
So I just did a quick ask of John if he recalls the LMI requirements, like a special agreement that sets those aside. I don't know of it off the top of my head. John's not recalling it either. So for us to weigh in on that. 10%. Right. So, but I don't know the contract. So I want to review the language of the contract on whether that will hold the same or not. But again, this would all be contingent upon site plan review. So this is essentially just a letter to IDA that says this type of housing is acceptable to the city of Decorah, but it still needs to go through our approval process.
I think we should table this until we're clear on the agreement.
So I think that the development
Could you
agreement,
step up to
Yep.
the,
I'd be happy to, yeah.
and then we can find out why your name is not
Yeah,
Anderson.
so my full name is John Robert Anderson III. So my parents have 2 Johns in the house, so everybody still has one called me Andy, which is a huge pain. But, so that's why my name is a finger in the neck. So going back to the question, I think the development agreement would remain the same, which would include the 10% of LMI. And I don't think that would change, and then the incentives for everything else, I think that the way that Travis and I have discussed it would be just the incentive structure remains the same, and the give and take is the same as what was defined before.
So how do we know in the 10, so I think what was proposed before was much larger units, so if we're talking about 2 larger units, 10% being LMI housing, how does that, I guess I wanna know how that translates to smaller units with 10 of them. Does that mean every unit will be in the LMI?
So to be clear, so the reason that we're doing this is because we talked to the bank and other people, the Decorah Bank and Trust. And Ben's like, hey, you already did 2 of these, what do you think about doing something else and structure this differently? We said, okay, we're open to that. And so we talked to a few other people and they said, well, really, we'd like to have garages. We want more bedrooms per unit and these sort of things. And that's really what the community is striving toward. And we said, okay, that's great. We've got some of these already built in Hudson. Actually, it's in Cedar Falls, but it's on the business school district. And people love them. And so we said, why don't we take that structure and apply it to this? So we reached out to the IDA to see if that change is possible. And they said, you need to do this, this, and this, and then you can apply for that change with the IDA for those workforce tax credits. And one of those items, there were 4 or 5 items, is a letter of support for change in the scope or timeline of the project from the mayor. And Travis is like, well, we should probably actually get a resolution on file with the entire city council, which I think is a pretty good thing to do. So what this stage is actually doing is giving us the opportunity to present this change to the IEDA and then come back and say, okay, we've got permission from the IEDA to do this change. Now let's talk about getting the site plan completed and nailed down and bringing it back to you guys for approval after that, because the project can't move forward. It's not financially feasible without the workforce tax credits.
Okay.
So this is just step 1. If step 1 goes, if it gets done tonight, then, and we're up kind of against the timeline for we have 3 years to use those tax credits, or to get everything built, so we can still go back and get those tax credits at the end of the project. And that's next year, next summer. So like, okay, well, if we want to do this, we need to continue to move forward. Does that help?
That helps.
The timeline.
So come back to I can support that.
Okay, great. I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
So we'll go ahead to mine is simply 50 units in this, the scope of the plan in the prior design was at 40 units between the 2 buildings.
I think it was actually, so the first building was 48, the second building ended up being 46. Or vice versa. I can't remember which ones came first.
So I'm saying this 5 townhomes, this would be a net reduction in what was originally proposed in terms of housing units, is that right?
So these, if we did 5, there would be, but so I think I got ahead of myself. Our proposal and what we would do for the workforce tax credits would be 3 of those buildings. It would not be all 5, but maybe in the future years, if they filled up really fast and they had a positive community response, then we would do the other 2. Again, apply for the workforce tax credits in the future year. So to answer your question, the number of bedrooms is actually larger doing 3 of these buildings than it would be for 1 of the other building. And that's because there are more bedrooms per unit. So per unit, there are more bedrooms per unit. So the net number of bedrooms is larger. The
More square footage or total or?
I don't know the answer to that either. So I'm not exactly sure what the square footage for each building is. And probably shouldn't.
I didn't even touch on the spot.
Oh, no, okay, yeah. It might. Does it have it on the sheet? Maybe it doesn't.
That was kind of nice, but very small.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we'll be able to zoom in on the PDF.
So that building would contain 24 bedrooms, so a total of 3 is 72 bedrooms. And one of the 48 unit apartment buildings would be 53 bedrooms.
That was kind of my question too. How many people were going to be able to be housed in the
Yeah.
design as compared to?
It's a different market. if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
right, yeah.
we feel like there's, and other people agree that, it's, you know, there are only 2 units out of almost 100 that are, available right now. And that's about where you want to be, as a community. So this is going for an entirely different market segment. In Decorah more than anywhere else, everybody's asking for a garage. People like garages here a whole lot. So we think this is really a really good fit for the community, and it's the same high quality standards with as the others, you know, sort of quartz countertops. And it's a very, very nice, these are very, very nice units, townhomes.
Does anyone else have questions for Andy? Does anyone want to make comments about this?
Oh, go ahead, Steve. That was my question.
All right, with, thanks to Ross and Emily for bringing up the importance of driving housing affordability in the community. Given that this is, housing affordability is the thing that comes up the most when we talk to people in our community, people considering moving. I just want to remind my fellow council members that currently, this is an empty lot, and so you're talking about a bunch of homes. Now, I know, I've seen the comments and I've talked to people who say, well, in the other buildings, that the rents are just not something that I can fathom affording. I want to draw my fellow council members' attention to examples of Minnesota and Austin, which are some of the only metropolitan areas in the country where rents are increasing. And they've done that by having a pro-housing stance, not pro-housing as long as it, met XYZ criteria or pleased every single need imaginable, or had, an affordable component as part of it. That simply building housing drives down and keeps steady housing prices. And I have any number of studies that sort of demonstrate that. I'd be really happy to share with leaders and anyone else in the room. I do want to make sure that we remember that these would be homes for people who otherwise probably would drive rents up elsewhere in Decorah. And that's important to remember when we're considering market rate projects, if that's what this ends up being. This is a pro-housing thing, and I'm pro-housing, so I'm going to be in full support of the letter.
Fantastic, thank you.
Hadley will make a motion to support the letter to the IED.
Second.
Motion made by Hadley, seconded by Neil. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Hadley,
Aye.
Neil,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Zimmerman,
Aye.
Chisholm, Miss Lynch.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Great. Thank you for your support. We'll get to the IED, PA. I've already got the other documents ready. So we'll submit that tomorrow. The next phase, if this is approved by the IEDA, will be to move forward. Travis is kind of guiding me along the way about when we need to get which documents to the right people. But it sounds like the August 19th meeting will be possible. Would you? Yep.
Yeah,
We did it.
that's reality as long as some of the other timeline hits.
Right. So we'll push as hard as we can and get you guys exactly what you need. And if you guys need, or if anyone needs more information or has questions or concerns, please do reach out. For this is a community driven project. So
And you've got his contact information.
yep.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much. Yeah, thank you.
Consider resolution to approve plans, specifications, estimated costs, and award bid for the dry run creek and QI wetland project.
Okay, slight change of plans here, my apologies. We are missing an agenda item that would have been to hold a public hearing for the plan specification, form of contract, and award the bid. However, since it's not on the agenda, what we need to use this item for is to set a new public hearing for August 5th, 2024. We are slightly blessed that we have a 5th Monday this month. Not every business is here, yay, extra Monday. This is one of them. So if council would consider please setting a new public hearing for August 5th, 2024, followed by second action of tabling the award. That's the process we have to take. We did publish the notice and everything, just as you can see, we had everybody in attendance here tonight to talk about it, but unfortunately, we need to do it.
I'll make a motion to set a public hearing for August 5th.
Second.
Motion made by Neil, seconded by Olson, setting the public hearing on August 5th, 2024. Any further discussions? Roll call?
Neil,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Sittergren,
Aye.
Chisholm.
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Neil,
Aye.
oh, sorry, Miss Lynch.
Aye. Okay, I just voted twice.
Okay, space.
Okay, motion carried. So that means you're looking for a motion to table.
Correct.
Motion to table resolution.
I'll second.
Motion made by Olson, second by Ms. Lynch to table the resolution. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Olson. Aye. Miss Lynch. Aye. Chisholm.
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Neil,
Aye.
Sittergren.
Motion carried. Considering ordinance amending Title 6 Animals of the Decorah Municipal Code, second reading. This information on it?
Yes, so I believe this is the third version that the council has discussed, considered, but we are on to the second reading of it. Originally, there was this is all discussion based on the June 3rd, June 16th council meetings. At that 16th, a first reading was tabled and some further modifications were proposed. So as opposed to the typical approach of providing a red line in the Dropbox file, is pretty much a clean copy that would just remove all the previous stuff and here's the new one. Because if you're trying to do a red line, it would be more convoluted than this. So couple areas to point out, again, sections 1, 3, and 5 of the ordinance, want to point out portion that is highlighted in section 1 included that the city shall auction an animal that was impounded running at large and not claimed by the owner within 5 days. This has now been updated that the city will assume ownership, make attempts to find a new owner. It does leave the option open, however, that should the city need, and emphasizing need, to have an animal humanely euthanized that we can. Section 5 of the proposed ordinance includes city code section 6.20.010 and added that the leash is no longer than 6 foot length and further described that fixed leash 6 foot length or a retractable leash longer than 6 feet has to be able to be reduced to less than 6 feet. And also still allows for electronic leashes for the range device. We also removed all references to the dog warden and have replaced for the chief of police.
Hadley will support the second reading.
Second.
Motion made by Hadley, second by Olson to support the second reading. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Hadley,
Aye.
Olson, aye. Neil.
Aye.
Ms. Lynch.
Aye.
Sittergren.
Aye.
Chisholm.
Okay, so that's the second reading. We'll have the third at the next council meeting. Discussion on noise pollution ordinance.
Okay, so I had 2 council members ask that this be placed on the agenda at the last council meeting. Council members Neil and Hadley, council member Neil had to participate virtually last meeting. Councilmember Hadley was absent, so the council agreed to simply table the discussion until both members could participate.
I can start. I mean, I expressed this in the last meeting, that I would love to just direct city staff to kind of go out and find some good examples of noise ordinances. I'm particularly interested in, as we reduce setbacks and move housing stock closer to one another, that we are cognizant and have a policy in place that requires noise barriers between HVAC equipments, things like air conditioners and such, so that we're not building houses where you can't open your windows because the loud air conditioner compressors from other people's homes are right outside their door. So I just think that it's something that we need to consider. In my time in council, the last 6 years, that's probably one of the number one complaints I get, noise in all forms, right? Whether it's the, motorcycles that scream through downtown, the fairgrounds, which obviously is not our jurisdiction, and is a whole, ball of wax there, but I do think that we can all get on board with this idea of HVAC equipment, in the neighborhoods. But I'm open to other things, I do think sometimes we're afraid to pass ordinance because they're hard to enforce. But just because something is hard to enforce doesn't mean we shouldn't have it, because when the chance arises, it's nice to be able to say, you're clearly violating the law and you have something to fall back on. If we don't have an ordinance at all, and we have a repeat offender who's going downtown, revving their engine or doing what else, and we can obviously identify that person and that vehicle, but no noise ordinance, we can't do anything.
I wanted to, I'm sorry,
No, that's just sort of where I like that, that's sort of why I brought this.
I want to go to Ross, because I know you were one of the ones that was interested in this as well, and I just wanted to hear your reasonings and what your considerations are.
Sure. We've looked at noise and light, pollution, air quality, all as aspects of the sustainability plan that we adopted years and years ago now. We've looked into and talked about air quality and bantered it around, and we didn't really do anything. We've looked into light pollution, and we're looking at dark sky things there. But I think having a discussion about sound quality and sound in Decorah is also very important. Not anything specific. I know that I've brought it up in the past and it's been contentious because people think it's about the races. But as Travis has pointed out and the Fair Board has pointed out, you can't restrict things that are related to agricultural association business. So I think just taking that off the table right away so that people aren't thinking this is an anti-race issue, that it's truly just a decibel measurement issue, just like light pollution is a lumens issue. If we can be, when you can't be, when we can't define what a nuisance is, sometimes it's good to have metrics. And that's why I'm supporting the research of a sound ordinance.
So in addition to what Ross said there, so he pointed out decibel level. So if something council wants to undertake, in my experience, there's been two avenues really. One is decibel level, where it's just do not exceed this set amount. Decibel meters used to determine whether somebody's in violation or not. The other is time and place is what I would call it, where it's against city code to work on and test a race car in a residential area after 10 p.m. Think like hotel rules, observe quiet, or hospital rules, observe quiet hours between the hours of 10 and 6. So that's another consideration, that it could be time and place. And as Emily pointed out, it could also be further restrictions on shielding. We've got that in our zoning code where the zoning administrator can determine fencing. Now that's meant for more visual screening, but the same could apply for audio. Where if you have a certain type of industrial operation, our code reads that the zoning administrator could require fencing as a shield.
I like both of those sites.
I did look up, some ordinances that some cities in Iowa have. One was in Coralville and they do it like, as Travis said, like a time, place type thing. And Marion was the other one, they did it by a decibel thing. I think there's good points and bad points for either one of them. The only complaint that I hear, I guess, generally in my area is, and I think this has come up as a topic of discussion previously at previous councils years in the past, and it was And I don't know where we came down on this, but it had to do with when they pick up trash in the morning. And I know they go through the downtown as their first stop. Well, they happen to go to West Water Street first and then on to West Main Street is their next stop, and that's at 4:10 every Tuesday morning. And I know a lot of people in that area are complaining about that. And I don't know where we stand with when trash can or cannot be picked up in residential areas. We have nothing.
Not to my knowledge.
I don't know if we ever did.
We've had
But in noise
discussions.
I know we had discussion.
And a noise ordinance might help that, right? I mean, a noise ordinance,
But if it's in time and place.
if it's time and place,
I don't want to restrict Malcolm from doing their job either, because I know they have certain times that they can go out to the waste site to be able to drop off their stuff, so I'm sure they have time restrict. But I mean, be nice to be able to work on something like that, so they're not in residential areas that early in the morning.
does that feel, I mean, is that how we do this? Is we sort of direct?
Correct. If I
Okay.
get a general consensus of where the majority of council lies, then we can take the effort to draft an ordinance, speaking with John and myself, that reflects the overall opinions of the council. as a whole.
I prefer that we started with seeing examples of both kinds of ordinances and have discussion about them, rather than having you do the work of drafting an ordinance for us that we may or may not want to approve. Does that, I mean, that's what I meant. I'm interested in learning more about this, but I don't feel like I know enough to sort of say let's invest a lot of staff time in actually drafting something for this place. I'd like to find a few partner communities like Kristen was doing and talk about it again when we've seen some actual sample code. The other thing I want to sort of address is Emily's, note that housing stock, we're passing rules that do allow it to grow closer together. I just want to say in defense of our rules that there's 100%, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying there are already many places in Decorah that are as close together as our new rules allow. And in those neighborhoods, I think there's probably some people who are annoyed at their neighbors not air conditioning, but people tend to usually make these things work, and that's what's already happening in many communities.
Maybe that would help you, is actually the impetus, some of this is that I have actually received several complaints about that going on currently. There isn't much we can do, but we can just make sure that we have an ordinance for the future, right? I mean, and I think residents who have complained about this issue, in fact, there was a big suit with the school several years back about the same sort of thing with HVAC equipment. And I think after time and time again, you're like, all right, we want to prevent these things from happening, because I think they are nuisance. That is one reason I think we need both, and because HVAC equipment wouldn't be time and place, right? You're gonna run your HVAC equipment all day long. But there are some things like, garbage trucks that may exceed a decimal level in the morning, yet we're not gonna ban garbage trucks from our streets, right? We just don't want them to be picking up trash perhaps at 4 a.m. I'm just saying that that's why I'm encouraging a both and. Because I do, there are things that probably happen in our community that are gonna exceed the decibel level we might set. And rather than try to make exceptions for all those things, we could do a decibel, a time and place, and then that there are other things that are just decibels in general.
And I will say, in reading through these two that I went off, they do make exceptions to a lot of different things. Like
Yeah.
church bells and all the things obviously that the city has and things like that. And I'll be going to provide a copy to them.
One was from Mary, where was the other?
Forward.
And I do really think it's important, can't reiterate enough what Ross said, this has nothing to do with the races. It has nothing to do with that at all. So, let's be clear on that.
Okay, so
1,000 times.
you'll look for some examples.
Grab Marion's, Fort Mills, a couple of others.
Maybe in population that's this smaller than the first Mary in Florida.
Maybe this would have helped our rooster case.
Maybe. Yeah, they're addressed in the.
Okay.
They're addressed things like that.
Okay,
You can't probably tell, 8 a.m.
That's right.
you're right.
Welcome back.
Well, openings are on the Decorah Human Rights Commission. I think it's one, correct? And we haven't had any applications on this once we just approved. Manager, department heads,
Only thing I would point out tonight, reminder, next week, council work session is a joint work session between the city council and the park board. So that will be next week, Monday, 5:45.
5:45.
5:45. Because we went with that rule that everything's 5:45, so there's no confusion. Unless it's prior to a meeting.
Can you remind me again what the meeting is about, Parks and Rec?
So it can be any number of things with council, but primarily surrounding code cleanup on what it says the park board is responsible for. But there was also discussion among council of whether the park board should be an elected position versus a. Yep.
Good. Anything else? Gary,
Nothing tonight.
this time I'm going to go to Ross because Emily was on before. So Ross, do you have anything tonight?
Yes, Mayor, in speaking with Travis today and, getting kind of some, ducks in a row, I just wanted to note that I will be resigning my seat from the council on, effective September 1st. I'm changing my primary residence. I'll still have a house in Decorah, but, my wife and I are relocating.
I'm not sure I can accept that.
Well, you'll be getting my written letter as well, but I appreciate the opportunity to serve for several years. We've gotten lots of good things done, and it's the council and the community are in good hands. So best of luck to everyone as we move forward.
And you stated that is September 1st.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Mayor.
Okay.
And nothing else.
That.
Nothing else.
Okay, nothing else. Let's start with Emily.
I actually had one question to actually Travis about fire, but do we need to have a rule of fire meeting?
We're not required to,
Okay.
but we should have a quarterly update here sooner rather than later.
Okay.
Where we could also discuss, talk with one of the more actively involved fire engineers on staff on the building.
Great.
Facility here, and so we hope that we would have a discussion that is, also includes that as part of the security.
Okay, so, and I know that we sort of have moved away from our committee meetings, but I do, just wanted to make sure that, I know that usually happens in the summer, and I just want to put that on everyone's radar that we should be control fire.
Well, and remember, we do have the auto adjuster now, it's a 5-year contract
Right.
with the auto adjuster, so that's what did not require or create a requirement for a meeting. But as far as getting those numbers updated.
And I still think it's best practice for us to meet with them.
Would that be something we could do at a third meeting, say in August? Is that soon enough?
Yeah, no, I think honestly, it's just that we normally meet with them in the summer, and I think we should maintain that kind of relationship. Otherwise, thanks everybody, public safety who worked at the fair and helped make a smooth week going on. I know those things are always extra load for everyone, so thank you so much, public safety, and to everyone for making it a very successful fair week. And other than that, I have nothing.
Randy? Steve?
Just wanted to reach out with a word of thanks to everyone involved in the city, staff, and my fellow council members who expressed in one way or another their thoughts and condolences in response to my mother's death recently. So really appreciate it, especially a couple of you who could come down and express your condolences in person to the city organization for its expression of sympathy, and also to Travis and the mayor who took out a little extra work that I couldn't be present for because of my family commitments. So thank you very much.
Kirsten?
Nothing, Mayor.
Christopher?
Nothing tonight.
Anything else? Going once? Going twice? Did I forget somebody? Anything from there? I had a great time at the fair. I love going to the Learn booth and having scrambled eggs and pie with ice cream. And then I went there twice. I only had a Northern specialty once. And then I went to the Park and Recreation run, which was so much fun. I must add that Kristen ran and actually placed. But the kids were a lot of fun. So that was one of the key things that I really enjoyed this last weekend. Anything else? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn? So moved.